Buddha and the Power of Discipline. Chapter 1. The Young Seeker. Long ago, in the kingdom of Kapilavastu, a young prince named Siddhartha Gautama lived in great luxury. His father, King Suddhodana, ensured that Siddhartha never saw suffering or hardship. However, as he grew older, Siddhartha felt a deep curiosity about life beyond the palace walls. One day, during a visit outside the palace, he encountered an old man, a sick man, a dead body, and an ascetic monk. These sights profoundly affected him, awakening a desire to seek truth and understand the nature of suffering. One night, Siddhartha left the palace, renouncing his princely life to seek enlightenment. He wandered from place to place, studying under great teachers and practicing extreme asceticism. However, he soon realized that neither luxury nor severe self denial could lead to true wisdom. He resolved to find a middle path, a life of discipline, balance, and self awareness. Chapter 2. The Path of Discipline. Siddhartha arrived at a serene place near the banks of the Naranjara river. There he sat under a large Bodhi tree and vowed not to rise until he had attained enlightenment. For days and nights he meditated with unwavering discipline. Mara, the demon of illusion, tried to disturb his concentration by sending temptations, fears, and doubts. But Siddhartha remained steadfast, using his discipline to overcome every obstacle. After intense meditation, he attained enlightenment and became the Buddha, the awakened one. Chapter 3. Teaching the Way of Discipline. After attaining enlightenment, Buddha traveled to Sarnath, where he gave his first sermon to 5 ascetic monks. He taught them the 4 noble truths and the Eightfold Path, which emphasized right conduct, mindfulness, and disciplined living. Discipline, Buddha explained, was essential to overcoming suffering and attaining inner peace. Without discipline, the mind would be like a wild elephant, difficult to control. He emphasized self restraint, meditation, and ethical conduct as the keys to liberation. Many people from different walks of life came to learn from him. Among them was a young monk named Sona, who struggled with self discipline. Chapter 4. The story of Sona. Sona was a devoted monk, but he was extremely harsh on himself. He practiced severe austerities, fasting for long periods and walking barefoot on sharp stones. Despite his efforts, he found no peace. Frustrated, he approached the Buddha and asked, "Why am I not finding enlightenment despite my intense efforts?" Buddha smiled and asked, "Sona, you used to play the lute before becoming a monk, didn't you?" "Yes, Lord," Sona replied. "When the strings of your lute were too tight, could you produce good music?" Buddha asked. "No, Lord. The strings would break," Sona admitted. "And when they were too loose, the sound would be dull and lifeless," Sona said. Buddha nodded. "Just like the strings of a lute, discipline should be balanced. Too much effort leads to frustration, while too little leads to laziness. Walk the middle path, Sona, with steady and balanced discipline." Sona followed the Buddha's advice, practicing moderation in his discipline. Over time, he achieved deep wisdom and inner peace. Chapter 5. The King and the Wild Elephant. One day, a king approached the Buddha with a concern. "Lord, I try to follow your teachings, but my mind is restless. I cannot concentrate or control my thoughts. How can I discipline my mind?" Buddha told him a story. There was once a great king who captured a wild elephant. The elephant was powerful but untamed, trampling everything in its path. The king assigned a skilled trainer to discipline the elephant. The trainer used patience and consistency, feeding it little by little, guiding it gently, and gradually teaching it to obey commands. Over time, the wild elephant became calm, wise, and useful to the kingdom. Buddha then looked at the king and said, "Your mind is like that wild elephant. It is powerful but untamed. With discipline, patience, and meditation, you can train your mind just as the trainer tamed the elephant." The king understood the lesson and dedicated himself to practicing mindfulness and discipline. Eventually, he found peace within himself. The power of discipline in daily life. As the Buddha's teachings spread, many disciples and lay people adopted disciplined lives. They practiced mindfulness in speech, actions, and thoughts. They followed a routine of meditation, ethical living, and self control. One of Buddha's closest disciples, Ananda, once asked, Lord, why is discipline so important? Buddha replied, Imagine a man trying to cross a river. If he builds a strong raft with discipline, he will reach the other shore safely. But if he is careless and does not tie the logs properly, his raft will break and he will be swept away by the current. Similarly, discipline is the raft that helps us cross the river of suffering and reach enlightenment, the final teaching. As Buddha grew older, his teachings continued to guide thousands of people. One day he gathered his disciples and said, All things are impermanent. Even this body will pass away. But remember, self discipline is your greatest refuge. Be a light unto yourself and walk the path with diligence. With these words, Buddha entered Mahaparinirvana, leaving behind a legacy of wisdom and discipline. His teachings continued to inspire people across generations, reminding them that true freedom comes through self discipline, balance, and mindfulness. Conclusion. The story of Buddha and discipline teaches us that true wisdom and inner peace can only be attained through self control, patience, and balanced effort. Whether we are monks, kings, or ordinary people, discipline is the key to overcoming suffering and finding true happiness. By practicing mindfulness, ethical conduct, and perseverance, we can train our minds like the wild elephant, cross the river of suffering, and walk the path toward enlightenment.